How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. And in 1982, Namco releases Pole Position. In America, Pole Position is immediately attributed to Atari because Atari licensed the game to produce arcade cabinets here in the States. And Pole Position kind of set the bar really high for what a racing video game was. Up to that point, they were really kitschy little top-down deals with really tiny cars. Pole Position had these big sprites and a behind-the-car view, and yeah, it changed the way we drove cars in video games. As did a few years later, Sega's Outrun changed the way we drove cars in video games. And those are the two benchmarks in arcade racing video games when it came to cars. And when we got to the home market, because Namco didn't release an NES or Famicom version of Pole Position, there was no impetus on them bringing Pole Position to the NES in the States. So Nintendo tapped Square to make a racing game, and we get Rad Racer, which is a lot different from F1 Race, which was the Famicom racing title that we never got here in the States. And this all sets a precedent because every other racing game that was released on the NES that wasn't RC Pro-Am and tried to be RC Pro-Am was chasing Rad Racer. This was probably the best attempt at besting Rad Racer. This game was released in 1989, 1990, around that time, and features a race car driver that none of us knew except for people who were into this sport. And that's Unser Jr. Today, we're going to take a quick look at Unser Jr.'s Turbo Racing. Now, in this game, you drive an F1 car. Unser Jr. was a driver in the kart series, so he wasn't really known outside of the US, hence he was only used for licensing with the US version of this game. Everywhere else it was just a standard Formula 1 game. And that's perfectly fine because this is a pretty decent racing game. Does it reinvent the wheel? No, absolutely not. But you have this car, you set stats, you have a turbo option, you have a turbo boost, you get maybe 60 seconds of turbo per race, and you got 24 other cars you got outrun, stuff like that. This is honestly the best example of an F1 game that we probably got on the NES. Is it the best racing game on the NES? I don't know, because Rad Racer and Rad Racer 2 are sitting right there. But this one does pretty good. You got a lot of courses around the world. A lot of different tracks represent different places. Some of them are based on Formula 1 or kart series tracks. Some of them aren't. But yeah, this does pretty well. Good on you, Data East, for giving us an actually good racing game. Because some of y'all stuff was kind of spotty there, baby. Real spotty. Now, if you decide that it has fallen upon your heart and soul to get you a copy of Unser Jr.'s Turbo Racing, baby, you can get this cheap. You can get a copy of Turbo Racing for under $10. In a lot of instances, you can probably get a copy for like $4.99, $6, somewhere in that range. So yeah, but yeah, for the most part, under $10. That's a really good deal for a pretty good game. There's not a huge amount of replay value here though after a point, because it's a racing game and running the same tracks over and over can get kind of dull. So be wary of that. Otherwise, if you like racing games and you actually know who Unser Jr. is, you might enjoy this. But the NES, I joke about it, but the NES is absolutely the place where the console where you could see all the athletes for the sports that you did not know had like superstar athletes. And Unser Jr. is one of them. But this has been the 8-Bit Animal. And I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow. Hey, look, there's a baby. And the baby's doing a lot of stuff that the little dinosaurs and Bubble Bobble were doing. I'm going to just call him Bubble Bobble Baby. Say that 3 times fast.